You know that feeling, right? When you're just stuck in your head, replaying a conversation, trying to figure out what someone really meant by that one little comment? Yeah, that's social overthinking. So, right now, we're going to break down why our brains do this and, way more importantly, learn a super simple but powerful way to stop. It almost always starts with something tiny, doesn't it? Like waiting for a text back. The minutes just tick by, and suddenly your mind is just gone. It's off to the races. Did I say something weird? Are they mad at me? Why aren't they responding? This right here is a classic trigger for a way bigger mental pattern. And that pattern, well, we're going to call it the overthinking spiral. And hey, if this feels familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's a very common human thing. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's actually going on inside our heads when we get caught in this loop. So what starts as a totally neutral event, like a delayed text, somehow morphs into this really powerful feeling of being pushed away. Your brain, trying to protect you, starts spinning up this whole narrative. And there's actually an ancient reason for this. Our brains are hardwired for survival. Way back when, being rejected from the tribe was a literal survival threat, so our default programming just jumps to the worst-case scenario. It tells a story of rejection, just in case. This feeling, this story of rejection, it all comes together to build something in our minds. We're going to call it the invisible wall. And it's this barrier that doesn't just separate us from other people, it separates us from what's actually happening, from reality itself. So here's the thing you have to get. The invisible wall is a barrier we build ourselves. It's like a filter that takes these perfectly normal, everyday social signals and just twists them into proof that we're being rejected. It is created 100% by our own overthinking. Okay, so let me show you how this wall works in real life. A friend is just busy. They can't text back right away. But our wall, it interprets that as they're definitely angry with me. Or someone cancels plans because they're just wiped out. But what we hear is, I'm not a priority to them. We miss an invite, maybe by total accident, and the story on our head becomes, I'm being excluded on purpose. See? The wall always takes the simplest explanation off the table and swaps it for the most painful one. So why? Why does our brain even build this wall? What's the engine that's driving this whole thing? Well, it all comes down to a really powerful and, frankly, exhausting process: mental rehearsal. This is just the perfect way to think about it. Your brain becomes this frantic actor, constantly practicing its lines for a play all about rejection. It's preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario. The problem? This play is almost always a complete work of fiction. It never actually makes it to the stage, but you're stuck backstage, just endlessly running these lines of pain and anxiety. And the difference between these two states is just stark. When you're rehearsing, you are trapped in your own head. You're predicting failure, you're terrified of being judged. But when you're present, you're actually in the moment. You're responding authentically to what's really happening, not to some story you made up. You're open to any outcome, not just the bad one you've been practicing for. Okay, so I know this all sounds pretty intense, but here's the good news. The tool to break this cycle, to stop the rehearsal and tear down that wall, is unbelievably simple. It's called the 1-second reset. Yep, that's it. 1 second. That is all the time you need. It's not about hours of meditation or some complex mental gymnastics. The power to shift from rehearsing to just being present can be found in a single, intentional second. Now, this part is absolutely crucial. You are not trying to fight your brain or force the thoughts to stop. I mean, come on, that's exhausting and never really works anyway, right? The whole goal is just to create a tiny gap, a little moment of space between the trigger and your usual spiraling reaction. In that 1 second of space, that's where you find the freedom to choose a different path. So here's how you actually do it. 3 simple steps. First, you just notice it. You feel that familiar knot of anxiety and you think, there it is. I'm starting to build the wall. Second, you pause. Don't analyze it. Don't judge yourself. Just take 1 deep breath in and out. That's it. That's your 1 second. And finally, you re-engage. You bring your attention back to what's actually happening right now, in the real world, not the story that's playing in your head. And here's the really cool part. When you start practicing this little pause habit, even if you're not perfect at it, a really fundamental shift starts to happen. You start to move from a life of constant, anxious rehearsal to one of genuine presence. And that right there is the ultimate payoff. All that mental energy you were spending preparing for some fictional play about rejection, it gets freed up.
You stop trying to control a future that is, by its very nature, totally uncontrollable. And instead, you get to fully live in the only moment that's actually real, this one. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Seriously, picture all the time and all the energy you spend in that mental rehearsal. When you get that time back, what are you going to do with it? What connections and what experiences are you going to open yourself up to when you're no longer stuck backstage, but you're fully present on the stage of your own life?